night is the Rangers Journal night.
Hi everyone, welcome to another Friday on the Rangers Journal. I'm your host today, Billy Jack. I'm being joined by a couple of stalwart regulars and brave as well, coming on after last night. First up, we've got Jack. How are you doing today, Jack?
Other outside of Rangers pretty well, but they always find a way to kill any sort of good mood you build up throughout the week.
I think saying everything's okay outside the Rangers on the Rangers podcast is a great trailer. What about yourself, Cammy? How are you feeling after last night?
I'm not back at work till Tuesday, so from that point of view, going to enjoy the golf this weekend until obviously Rangers play on Sunday, and they can't spoil my weekend until then. But doing okay. You know, I always look at these. I'm well experienced in post-match pods when it's all went pear-shaped. So this is just more of the same, unfortunately. And I just treat it as a free therapy session because, other than my wee boy, nobody in the house can really empathise with me, you know. So I'm looking forward to just digging into the many talking points, Billy.
Well, I think it says everything. Last night I had a prior engagement that meant I only get in for the last 5 minutes of the first half, and I actually switched on and was kind of bracing myself for being 2-0 down, and was pleasantly surprised at that point that it was still 0-0. And at that point I didn't realise we were down to 10 men. We all know how things went thereafter, and I've caught up with the highlights of the first half. But I mean, to start overall, just in terms of the result and the performance, Jack, is it like different week, same record? In many ways, it seems to be, because from what I saw last night, this isn't a team just about to click into sort of free-flowing football. And the saddest thing is that no one really was surprised, I think, to be honest. What were your thoughts? Overall performance and the result?
But heading into Ibrox, I was pleasantly surprised we got the win over Hibs, despite not playing well. And I thought, right, if we can go on a sustained run, it'll ease the pressure. We might start to build the performances. But we had to win all 4 of these games before the next international break, and we failed at this first hurdle after Hibs. I just feel like Martin bit back after Hibs about the quote from Stevie Clifford about not looking coached, but they don't. They look. I don't know what they're doing all week other than jumping in Loch Lomond, but they don't look as if they've met each other before. They look like 11 guys slapped together for a charity game. They don't seem to know what each other's going to be when they've each got the ball. They don't seem to understand each other's style of play. And people say also that the attack is inept and the defence can be split open. The midfield is non-existent for me. How many times did you look at the pitch last night and there was just nothing in the park? There was nobody there. They'd all drifted out wide. Diamandi, before he gets sent off, drifted left. Asgard out right. Nico Raskin's the only one player up against 4 or 5 bodies in the middle of that park. You can't win a game of football with no midfield. And I don't know what he's seeing that makes him keep saying, oh, we'll learn from it, or we'll improve from this, because there is no learning, there is no improvement week on week. It's the same turgid rubbish every single week. There is no midfield. There's guys hiding in plain sight. Cielo Asgard, he's a great player for Norway. He was a great player before we signed him, but he has been atrocious in the Rangers shirt. I paid special attention to him last night. It took him 26 minutes to play a pass forward. It just kept turning and going backwards. Other players had the ball, he's standing behind them. Diamandi clearly didn't want to be there. Raskin's trying to do the job of 3. The centre halves keep rushing out and leaving their partner exposed, where it's Suter Cornelius. The fullbacks don't know where to go or stick. And then Chermiti was getting some slander last night. What is the boy meant to do when there's nobody within 40 yards of him and he's getting absolutely nothing created from him? There is no part of this team that is working well, other than Jack Butland, who thankfully has had a superb return to form the start of this season. Otherwise, we would have been humiliated a lot more than just a Bruges game. We would be in the back of some proper thumpings. He's the only guy, and I don't blame the players fully for this, because I think they're just doing what they're told. And I've seen when Nico Raskin, if you don't do what you're told, you get bombed out. Jack Butland's the only one that's performing to an adequate standard this year. It is absolutely, there is no shape at all. It's not that his style and shape isn't working. There is none. And I don't know how long the owners are going to let this go on for. The performance was shocking last night.
It's funny. We seem to have had a flood of comments, pretty much along the same vein, and people very understandably focusing on the fact that we've got 4 wins in 14 games. Is it 14 shots in the last 5 games? And this was supposed to be Russell Martin's free-flowing football army. That's the thing that's possibly making it even worse, Cammy. I think the fact that we weren't told this was going to be some obdurate Sean Dyche type manager who was going to come in, toughen us up and make us difficult to break down. We were going to be this sort of like easy on the eye Rangers team. And at the moment, we are splinters in the eye. What were your thoughts on last night?
I think Jack pretty much sums it up for me, to be honest with you. I can't really add anything. It's just a complete shambles, to be perfectly honest with you. We're now at the 26th of September. Russell Martin and his staff have been in place for 3 months now. There's nothing. There's absolutely nothing to see incremental progress. As I've said on this pod before, I wasn't expecting Pep's Barcelona, but I was expecting to see some of what had been promised. I was expecting to see intensity. I was expecting to see effort. All this sort of stuff. All we've seen, Rangers are atrocious to watch. There is no enjoyment at all in watching this Rangers team. The atmosphere last night was as disappointing at a European game as I've seen in a long time. You know, they talk about the 12th man and what have you. I mean, you'd have thought we were playing Alloa in the League Cup last night. You know, the crowd merits that. The crowd basically backs the apathy of the support at this present time. I just don't know. I don't know what the manager talks about receiving outstanding support within the building. That's like the dreaded vote of confidence sort of situation, you know. So it's it'd be very easy for me to just follow Jack and rant and throw, but we'll try and go through it in a structured way. But we're a horrendously bad team to watch. We are uncoached. I said last week that I thought we were potentially overcoached. And I mean that in the sense that I don't think that the players are given any flexibility to do something off the cuff. They are told to stay in their square, and that you know, it limits. And I've never, and I honestly cannot remember a Rangers team with. I mean, those stats about the shots in the last few games are embarrassing. That's just not acceptable, no matter what. How much you've spent or anything, you know. So it's a complete mess, to be honest with you, Billy. And Jack's pretty much echoed my thoughts on players and individuals, etc.
Interesting actually hear you touching the players looking both overcoached and undercoached, because that's something that keeps standing out to me. Is I wonder if we've got young players with decent ability, and he's just overloading them to the point where, like, back to Jack's point about Asgard turning back, that this, you're playing the ball backwards rather than going forward. This kid was brought in, and Russell Martin was very enthused about what he could do in the attacking third. He was very excited about the possibility. And I cannot believe that a unit like Asgard, who's got the confidence of 4 goals again, you know, for Norway recently, and you know, like, is playing at that level with Haaland, etc., gets the ball and thinks, I want to turn back. I think he wants to show what he's got, but there's this. You hear Russell Martin talking about it. Sometimes you need to go back and choose your moment to go long or to launch it forward. And I think that there is a real danger that we have these young players who've just got so much information that I think back to the Max Aarons red card, and everyone went, oh, he wanted off the pitch. I wondered when I watched that if it was like his brain just like went on the fritz and he was like, I better do something, like grab a hold of him, because I'm not sure 5 minutes in you necessarily want off the pitch. And it just, to me, it's an indicator of Russell Martin as a limited manager. He should have a plan to develop these players. He shouldn't be going, right, we need you to play like Real Madrid tomorrow. He should be going, right, that's where we maybe want to get to, but he lets them do what they're good at and blends it into the team, and he just doesn't seem to have the wherewithal to do that. And it is eye-bleeding to watch Rangers at the moment. In terms of the game itself, Jack, it was arguably Genk were making better chances the whole game, but most people who would want to make a defence of Russell Martin would say the red card was a big moment in the game. Before that, we'd had a penalty claim. I mean, in terms of the penalty claim that we didn't get and the red card that Genk did get, what were your thoughts? Were those fair decisions?
Well, on the penalty, I missed it the first time when I was actually in the toilet when that happened, and I just heard VAR for penalty, and I'm like, oh no, ran out. Obviously, I've seen it back since. I think you can make the decision for the penalty, but I think it's very harsh. I think if you're calling that a push, I mean, it's a contact sport. I don't think it's enough to want a free kick. By the letter of the law, it's a handball, it's a penalty. I think we've been hard done by there. But that's probably the only way we were going to get a goal last night. I can recall the John Suter header cleared off the line. I can't remember if that was offside or not. That's come from a set piece. Other than that, we created nothing from open play. And I think the penalty would probably been our best chance of getting a goal. I mean, who knows? We might have kicked on had we got it, but I think it's clutching at straws, really. In terms of the red card, Diamande was having a shocker anyway. He clearly wanted off the park. It's a stupid place to make it. There's no immediate danger. And you knew straight away. I sat in the club deck and right in front of me, and you're like, that's a red card. But again, Martin made all the excuses in his presser after about how it changed the game and how they had to sit in more, but we weren't creating anything before it. You know, I mean, it's just the worst part about the two decisions aren't that they cost us a result, because a good enough Rangers team makes enough chances to still get something from that game. It's the fact it gave the manager excuses is the worst part of them for me. The fact that he had something to go, this is why, and take the blame off himself, when everyone with eyes that watched that game can see the problem is tactics.
I was interested when the red card happened. It was like, well, that will be the excuse. And unfortunately, for me, the problem is Russell Martin. He could use the red card as an excuse if he was winning the games he's supposed to win. But when you're not winning in the league, you're not winning against, the Motherwolves of the world. You've burnt all your matches. You don't get to turn around and say, if that red card hadn't happened, we'd have been in a better position. Obviously, we concede a penalty, and Jack Butland does his thing and bails us out, and that a half time should have the stadium rocking and have us going into the second half thinking, right, we're going to do this. Didn't work out like that, and I think to tap into what you were saying, Cammy, the fact, I think was it 37,000? We were down like maybe 13,000 last night, and the atmosphere was flat as a pancake. In terms of how the second half went, did you see anything from Russell Martin to suggest that he's got any sort of tactical nous in terms of like what he tried to do to with 10 men to try and because you could make an argument we played as badly with 10 as we did with 11, so you could say he'd done something there. But did you see anything in the second half in terms of the changes? And also, actually, just to get your thoughts on it, did you think the penalty that Tav gave away was a penalty? For me, it looked like a pen all day long, but like I've heard people saying they didn't. So any thoughts on the penalty, and what was your take on Russell Martin's tactical masterclass the second half, Cammy?
Well, I don't think there was no tactical masterclass at all, to be perfectly honest with you. It's just more of the same. He's very won't adapt. I felt sorry for Shermiti up front. I thought it wouldn't have mattered if it was Shermiti or Majowski. They were feeding on scraps, to be perfectly honest with you. Ant-Man coming on for Mikey Moore. Mikey Moore was completely ineffectual. But he's 18 years old. He looks very much a development player. I've spoke about it before. We should not be developing other clubs' players. He's taking the minutes that Finlay Curtis could offer. I think I seen one of the comments talking about Connor Barron. I would have brought Connor Barron or Joe Rothwell on, to be perfectly honest with you, to try to actually solidify the middle of the park a wee bit. But there's so many structural issues, regardless of personnel. He's embedded to, this is the way I want to play through hell or high water. Whether you're playing with 11 men doesn't really matter. The penalty, it's a penalty. It's soft, but it's a penalty. Obviously, it's one of those. Jack saves it. As I echoed Jack's thoughts, he's done really well so far this season, thankfully. Jack Butland back to the keeper that we've seen in the early part of his Rangers career. But I must admit, I had the fear that he was going to get done again by the rebound. But I think it was Magoma that challenged, and I think there was then I had the fear that he had actually fouled the boy and we were going to get another penalty sort of thing. But the thing for me across the 90 minutes is 1-0 flattered us, because if, for example, they had Erling Haaland up front, or if they had a semi-competent striker, they'd have filled their boots. They'd have scored 4 or 5 easily. So, no, I had zero belief, and I do try to remain as positive as possible. That's what Russell Martin has done to myself and the Rangers support across the last 3 months. There is zero belief in the stands. I think there's zero belief within the players. They're not buying into what he's asking them to do. The players, you know, I can't be too hard on the players, but also I can be hard on individual players. But I think the overall setup and structure is flawed. Far too easy to play through. That long ball has been done against Dundee. It's been done against Alloa. It's been done against Pilsen. It's been done here, there, and everywhere. But he doesn't appear to recognise any deficiencies in his approach. That's the thing for me. He's very arrogant and very delusional, and his post-match interview was as bad as I've ever seen, and it done nothing at all to help my mood last night at all.
Well, I think that's because there are no deficiencies in his system, Cammy. There are deficiencies in the players, there are deficiencies in our patience, and deficiencies in other areas, but I don't think any deficiencies in Russell Martin's system. And it's funny when you were saying there's no belief. I don't know. I think he's maybe redefining belief, Russell Martin, because I personally, I believe, like some of the posters here, that we're probably going to drop points at the weekend. You know, I believe we're going to struggle every time we go out. What he's doing, unfortunately, is readjusting our expectations. And one of the things I find it must be the case now is that even if you're a young player and he's the guy that brought you in, so you start off with that halo effect that this is your manager. You know, he talks a good game. He's managed in the EPL, and a lot of these young players probably come in and they're a bit dazzled, going, "Oh, new manager. You know, he seems like a cool young manager. He knows what he's talking about." They must be losing belief. They must be going out there week in, week out and going, "Oh, this isn't working. We're getting, you know." They're losing at home, they're losing in European games, they're dropping points all over the league. There must come a point where it's going to start damaging these players. That's where, for me, it gets interesting with the 49ers, because it's all very well saying we'll hit rock bottom and then bounce back, but you could materially damage some of these players for the medium term if they don't make a change quite soon. And talking of young players, actually, something Jack and I had been chatting about before we come on air, Mikey Moore, no one seems to quite understand why he's been in the last few games. This is no shade on Mikey Moore. He looks like he's got possibilities. He looks like a young player in development. Is he getting played because we've got a contractual requirement to put him in the team at the moment, Jack? Can you make a case for why he's in there? Because he looks like actually a young player that could do with a few bench appearances for his own good, but he's starting.
Yeah, it's a weird one for me. I wasn't against the signing. The boy has got talent. He's just not shown it at Rangers so far. And I wasn't against putting him in the team, but he's had a few performances now where he just doesn't look up to it. He looks a bit overawed by the crowd, by the physicality. He's making silly mistakes. Like there's one last time the ball came out to him and he just dribbled it right out the park. So there's clearly talent there. We've seen it with Spurs, but we've not seen it ourselves. My main gripe with it is we had Finlay Curtis who scored against Panathinaikos, he scored against St Mirren, and then Moores came into the team after that, and Finlay's been nowhere to be seen. Finlay's our player. He's shown more for Rangers than Moore has, yet Moore gets a start over him because of what he's done at a previous club. Finlay Curtis has done more than any other winger, bar Gassama, out wide this year. That includes Ant-Man, that includes Moore. He's your man that should be starting. He's the only one that's shown a bit of drive and a bit of a will and actually brought the team on. I mean, he got us the point in Paisley. He helped us get the 3 points, the win over Panathinaikos. But Martin doesn't seem to want to use him. And the only reason I can think is because he's young. But then he's playing Mikey Moore, who's younger and isn't actually our player and is contributing less. So the only reason behind it, I think, must be we've got it in this contract with Spurs that we need to play him a certain amount of time. But if that's the way he's going to play, then maybe we shouldn't be fulfilling the agreement. He goes back to Spurs. And now I like the boy. I think he will come good under a better management. He gets forward, he takes his man on, which is the one positive, but it's just not working for him. And while it's not working, you bring someone in who it has been working for, and it has been working for young Finlay. So yeah, I don't understand it. Surely you play the best team that's in the best form, and you don't get guys in because you know what they can do. You put them in because of what they are doing, if that makes sense. See, I feel like we're cutting our nose off despite our face in a few ways by not playing our own youngster for someone else's youngster.
Yeah, I don't think many would agree. It'd be different if Mikey Moore was coming in and was burning things up, but he actually, it's a very strange decision because it looks like after bringing him in for a couple of games, wasn't quite working out, bench him for a couple of games and then see if you can bleed him back in with like 20 minutes at the end of a match. But it doesn't look like it's doing him any good. And to me, it does reek a little bit of like, we've said we'll play him like 30 games a season or something. But slight sidebar in that, Cammy, that seems to be a suggestion on players and strange decisions. There seems to be a suggestion that Shermiti may have played last night. I was surprised not to see Miovski, and I think he just looks further ahead, and he at the moment offers more of a goal threat. For a game like last night, I was surprised to see him in. There's a suggestion that he may have played last night because he may not be able to play on the pitch at Livingston. Now, I don't know if that's a one-off thing because he's currently getting back to full fitness, or if that's going to be an ongoing thing, which is a bit of an issue in Scotland. What are your thoughts on the news that Shermiti might not be able to play at Livingston at the weekend? Does that sound like a strange one to you, or just?
It's a new one on me, but to be honest with you, I want to talk generally with regard. There's a lot of chatter around Mikey Moore, the contract, the loan fee, obligation to play, all that sort of thing. Kevin Thelwell and Dan Purdy, the recruitment, and I've said this so many times, the recruitment this summer has not been fit for purpose at all. Our recruitment, bar a couple of players, has been atrocious. Russell Martin's the guy that's getting all the stick. He's the man that's speaking before matches, after matches, training the players apparently during the week. But the people that have done the recruitment, see if you don't get the recruitment right, of the spine. Yeah, I spoke about the spine 1,000 times. We're weak. We're asking wee boys to do men's jobs. You know what I mean? Magoma didn't have a great game last night, but he's only 13. You know what I mean? It's like you're asking a wee guy to do it, and they played on him, and to his credit, he kept on going, but he didn't have a good game. But our recruitment is just abysmal. And the thing is, you replace Russell Martin. I know I'm digressing a bit here, Billy, but very hard. It's very hard to be sort of sensible in the way you're talking. We have our recruitment for Long and Weary has been abysmal. We are going to replace Russell Martin. It's not a matter of if it happens, it's a matter of when it happens. There's no, I'm sure the UB had the banner and it said something along those lines. Patrick Stewart and Kevin Thelwell and Greta Steinson, who I think is the 49ers man, they're going to lead the recruitment. They led the recruitment for Russell Martin. So they are as culpable for the mess that we are in. The spend, the wages, the loan fees. Shermiti for 8 million is no disrespect to the guy. I mean, I think the comment there, 13 million on Shermiti and Fernandez. And I mean, see, for 13 million, you should be able to get 4 players for the spine of your side. If you have a proper recruitment and scouting strategy that actually you see visible improvements. No looking at the Rothmans football yearbook. That's for the old ones that can remember the Rothmans football yearbook, and you just scan through it and you look for a right back and you look for a centre half and all that sort of stuff. The approach that we have went this summer, this is probably as bad, if not worse, as the carnage that Michael Beale created in the summer of 2023. The mess and the people that we have signed. Any manager coming in is going to have to be Harry Potter, Paul Daniels rolled into one to actually make something out of this group of players, because they're not suddenly going to turn into men overnight just because a different manager comes in. You've either got it or you haven't. And McCoist after the match, Scott Arfield after the match, Alan Hutton after the match, they all echoed what the majority of the Rangers support are saying. And it's just not good enough. We as a support deserve far, far better. And it's the 49ers are fast losing any goodwill that they had from the support.
That I don't think many would argue with that. Anyone wants to take up Cammie's challenge to do an AI blending of Harry Potter and Paul Daniels, please don't. I think we'd break the internet. That's just a horrible image at all levels. You do bring us on to like an interesting point there, Cammie. I'll maybe bounce it back to you and then on to Jack. Andrew Cavan is there last night. He to be fair, he sat, he heard it, he didn't run off at the end. Apparently had some quite measured conversations with fans around the director's box. By all accounts, he was here last season when Ibrox was jumping on a European night. He knows the difference. He can tell the difference in the atmosphere. He can see the numbers are down. He's not a stupid guy. They've made a mistake. They've come in, they've tried to implement this Leeds model on a club that is not Leeds by any stretch, and it's not working. Realistically, how long do you think it can be before the 49ers make the change that they need to make? Because they've got a balancing act. They've got the credibility with us, and they are losing it fast. They've also got the credibility with potential managers coming in, because if you turn around and say to a new manager, hey, we've got this fantastic new project, everything's ready to go. How long did the last guy manage? Binned him after like 10 games. I'm not arguing that it's time to bin Russell Martin, but what I'm saying is, like, what is the balance for you, Cammie, in terms of like when the 49ers need to get on this and what they do? For you, is that long past, or do you think the 49ers are going to dig in, as we've been told they're going to do? Do you think the breaking point could be Livy? Do you think they're just going to tough it out to Christmas?
I think he gets to. I always look at the international breaks. International breaks for me are always you're going to see it down south. Probably Graham Potter loses his job at West Ham at the international break, because if Rangers are not planning to do it, I just think the game on Sunday, game on Thursday, game on Sunday, I think he'll certainly get the next 3 matches. I would be very surprised if anything happened before then. I don't have any issue with regard to the organisational structure that the 49ers are trying to implement. It's a modern approach to running a football club, but it all comes down to getting the right people in the right places. And that's that doesn't. It's signing the right players. It's recruiting the right manager. It's having the right CEO. It's having the right recruitment. It's no wasting money, so on and so forth. But see, to be honest with you, Billy, see if we were to beat Livingston, beat Graz, and then beat Falkirk, I would still be binning them. It's not going to happen. I would have said, see if we had beat Hearts, beat Hibs, we'd won the 6 games, and this I would still have binned them, because it's just reached a point where I have never in my life watching Rangers known the Rangers. It's taken this for the Rangers support to be united on one subject. You know, it never happens. The Rangers support, Michael Beale blethered, Philip Clement blethered. This, I have never known a Rangers manager to be so disliked, and he does nothing at all to help himself with his chat and his spikiness after the match. He has got complete disdain for the Rangers support. He talks about the respect in the building, or the respect. I'm getting great support in the building, and we're just supporters. He thinks we know nothing. I'm sorry, Russell, but I've been watching Rangers for 40 years, and I could tell you what it takes to win in Scottish football, and I don't have any badges or anything like that. These guys, including Thelwell, have came up for England, completely underestimated what Rangers Football Club is all about. We do not have enough people employed within the football club that know what Rangers Football Club and Scottish football is all about. We don't have enough winners throughout the football club and the business. We are a complete car crash from top to bottom.
I wouldn't argue with that, Cammy. And the thing that surprised me about Russell Martin is, for an experienced-ish manager, is that spikiness. Like, you know, you can nip back at the media. You can even sort of have a wee jab back at the fans in a way that doesn't come across as thin-skinned. You know, like, you know that a Steven Gerrard or a Walter Smith would be biting back in a way where they were clamping things and they didn't come across as throwing their toys out of the pram. That has been quite surprising to see that, because he doesn't do himself any favours. I've just put the kind of the post up from Shona McLean. Need a pragmatic manager, and the next phrase, I would get this in the front of a T-shirt in Star Wars a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. Gerrard is the one, because at the moment for me, like, by default, he kind of is. Jack, your thoughts on you know, is the recruitment the bin fire that Cammy suggests, and where do you see the 49ers going with this? Cavan is in town. He's you know, he smelt the coffee and it smells pretty stale and rotten. What do you think?
First of all, yeah, I agree with the recruitment. We've got a few good players in there, some that aren't showing it. I think Cornelius will prove to be good in the long term. Kasama, Miovski, brilliant on paper. I even think Asgard, as much as I criticised him earlier, in a good system would come good. I think actually a lot of the poorer signings are the loan signings, which is probably going to help us. The fact that we're not going to be saddled with them long term, your likes of your Aarons, Rothwell may be one that's not going to come good. But I think overall recruitment, there's a few bright sparks in there. But I get Cammy's point that overall we look to have been doing very little scouting, looking for them. Seems to be very sort of simple buys where we could have done a lot more work. But yeah, I think it gets to the international break. Even if we lose all 3 games coming up, it probably doesn't go till then. I seen a comment earlier about Kevin Muscat, who would be one of my picks. And I know some people have mixed opinions on him, but they've got one more game in 4 days, and then they've got an international break. I think because we do like a project manager, he's got a similar-ish style to Martin. If you're going to go for him, that's the time you go for it after their game on the 30th. But I think the simple choice and the easier choice would be Steven Gerrard. And I would back that, because I think Gerrard, he knows the club, he knows the standards, he knows what's expected, which Martin clearly does not. He knows how to deal with the fans, he knows what we want to hear, he knows how to get things across. so he would work for that. He knows the league. He knows what style is going to work. He knows how to set a team up. Maybe not to be running away with the league. I know he did in the 55 season, but he challenged for a good part each year he was here. He would put a mentality into the team that we don't have, a will to win, and he would give them freedom. I mean, you've seen the freedom the likes of, your Kent, your Arfield, your Morelos he's got in his system. He lets players play to their strengths, and I think that's exactly what we need. So Gerrard, if you're going to go for we need somebody now, it's Gerrard. I think long term, Muscat would be my pick, just simply because we've seen that style of play work over the other side of the city. You've seen how well it can work in Scottish football. He's a guy that would have something different as well. He's got the experience in these different leagues, which is something we need, but he's also got that mentality that Gerrard has, the steeliness. He won't take any, pardon my French, any shit. He'll not let the players get away with the sort of stuff they've had under the likes of Clement and Beale and Gio down in tools. See, I don't know where they go. I think I would like us to see, I just hear a comment for Stephen Robinson. I like that shout as well, but I think it's the wrong time. I would like us to go for Muscat, but I think you just get Gerrard in to sort it now. I think he has all the qualities that Martin doesn't have, and I think it's a simple choice. It's just, it feels that this board are so committed to Martin, but I don't understand why. Results are one thing. See if we were playing this good football and it just wasn't coming together, and we were getting these results. You go, right, I see what he's trying to do, like Gerrard in his early days, but the football is awful. We are not creating anything. We're not doing anything. It's a car crash from back to front, and I don't see how the 49ers, Fairwell, Purdy, whoever, can see any evidence for this improving. Billy, you're on mute.
Just less nonsense for everyone to listen to. Yeah, I mean, with the situation with Muscat, I'm not sure. Like for me, he's available in 5 games, but someone was saying he'd hit the ground running. I'm not sure coming in from China to Scotland, you necessarily hit the ground running. For me, Gerrard is not a perfect candidate because, you've got the question, he's a slightly tarnished brand. He's not got the momentum that his career had when he was coming to Rangers with the ultimate goal of managing Liverpool. Now he's kind of like, in sort of career limbo to some extent, but he knows the club, he's got the gravitas, he's got the standards, and he just doesn't talk the way Russell Martin does in terms of winding the fans up. And I haven't heard the comment. I think it was Sean McLean was saying it's about he made a comment about it being about performance rather than result. I haven't heard him say that. If he did, then he could. You're almost trying to work your ticket at that point because that is just going to wind fans up so much. In terms of like where this leaves us, Cammy, Europe in recent years has been it's been the sort of the shining light for Rangers fans. I'm going by sort of like your kind of camera. So I'm saying you're probably a bit younger than me, but you remember an era where we were good at home, but Europe was regularly a source of embarrassment. Like losing to teams like Auxerre, etc. And when we had players like Gascoigne and Laudrup, it's been the shining light since Gerrard came in and he made us a proper European outfit. We've apart from that Champions League season and there were extenuating circumstances, we have been quite enjoyable to watch in Europe, quite exciting to watch. It feels a little bit like if Martin's not getting a run at home and he's beginning to sort of sell the family silver in Europe, where's that going to leave us? I mean, that's a home game against the 14th best team at the moment. I know they did better last season, but the 14th best team in Belgium, that's a home game gone. Where do you think this leaves us in the Europa League? Because next 2 games are away. We've got Graz next week and then Brann after that. How do you think the Euro campaign's looking, Cammy? And what do you think that might that be the thing that actually gets the 49ers into gear?
Well, I think we're in a position that last night, that's a team that we would have beaten under the last 4 managers without any shadow of doubt. They were a bang average side. We made them look far better than they actually were. I think if Russell Martin was to remain in situ, we wouldn't even make the top 24. I'm pretty confident on that. The thought of Roma coming to Ibrox in this current way of playing gives me the fear. You know, it really gives me the fear that if Russell Martin was to stay for the season, somebody takes 10 off us. I think it happens. I don't think we're giving up far too many chances, and this is not just isolated incidents. This is every single game. But across the period since Gerrard, Gerrard got us through 4 qualifying rounds, used those qualifiers as almost like pre-season friendlies, achieved fantastically to get us into the Europa League. And as you say, bar that car crash of a Champions League season, Rangers on a Thursday night has been enjoyable. Last night was nothing. It was just a dead, under 40,000. I thought there would be around about 40,000 for all the games. And I think that is contributed by the pricing, which I thought was a wee bit over the top. But I think the apathy, because Rangers fans will always pay to support our team when we've got something to actually see and something to get behind. And Jack spoke about there's nothing, there's no incremental progress game on game, and no chance creation, no excitement other than give the ball to Gassama. That's the only tactic that we've got. After we've fannied about with the ball for 20 minutes, we then give the ball to Gassama, and he's got to do. It's like back to the days under when we had Laudrup. Just give the ball to Laudrup and he beat 5 men and bent it in the top corner. But different times, far better Rangers team, all that sort of situation. But Europe as it stands just now, I don't think we'll make the top 24. The next few fixtures, I really hope that we can turn that around. But go back to my original point, Russell Martin cannot be the Rangers manager when we return after the international break on October the 18th. The international break has to be used as the time. The things have to be going on in the background just now. If conversations aren't happening in the background and haven't happened, the people that are running the club and the people that are tasked to run the club on a daily basis are failing us, the Rangers supporters. But European-wise, it's not looking as though we're going to have a last 16, last 8 as it stands. It can change, but it looks unlikely at this moment in time. You're on mute.
You've done it again.
I've had to do this because I'm dragging my chair about to avoid the sun, and I've got a cat trying to get in the door just now, battering the door. So I was just laughing when you were talking about Gassam being almost like in the Laudrup role, and good player as Gassam is, he's no Laudrup. But I do remember watching a European game, I think it was, where Laudrup basically it was so like a binary that basically Alec Cleland gave the ball to Laudrup about 8 times in a row, and Laudrup kept passing it back because he had a man on, and eventually Laudrup had to turn round to him and go, in the game, do something else with it, give it to someone else. If you just give it to me all the time, they're going to have 3 men on us. That's not going to work. So that didn't work.
At that point, he just passed it to Gaza, and Gaza just passed the ball back to him, and then he passed it to Laudrup.
Yeah, probably by then Gaza would have been doing that just for shit and giggles, I think, probably just because he was finding it funny. Jack, we have got a shot at redemption at the weekend. We have the chance to claim Libby's 9th place in the league. We can overhaul them. I'm joking to an extent. We are only 4 points off of 3rd place. That's a grim thought, albeit a good bit, was it 9 points off of 2nd? how do you see the weekend going? That we're going to be on that plastic pitch. We're going to be up against a manager in Davy Martindale who knows how to set up a team in Scotland. He's done it before against Rangers. I'm looking at this game and I'm seeing us dropping points. In all honesty, how do you think it's going to go? And do you think it will make any difference?
Well, we're actually going to wait a side that scored 3 times as many league goals as us this year, so we could be up against it. You know what David Martindale's going to do. He's going to come in. They're going to be physical, and I don't think especially the new boys, are going to be expecting it, because Martin doesn't seem to do any sort of tactical insight into the opposition. It seems to be all about, this is what we're going to do. They're going to come, they're going to be physical, we're going to get spooked, they're going to hit us with an early goal, we're going to huff and puff and play about with it at the back, we're going to make about 4 subs that make no sense tactically, we're going to launch it in the box, and if we're lucky, we'll get the end of a corner or we'll get given a penalty and we'll get away with a draw, and Martin will try and pretend that because we abandoned our tactics for the last 10 minutes and fired the ball in the box, that somehow it's a positive, when in reality it's not. There is absolutely no way we win this game unless Livingston don't turn up, and that is something I never thought I'd say, that we're hoping Livingston Football Club have an off day for Rangers to get a win. And it'll be the same. It'll be the same at Falkirk. I've seen Falkirk a few times this year, and they're not a great team, but the way they play will hurt us. They move the ball from something we don't do. They move it from defence to attack really quickly. And that's not something we'll deal with. I honestly don't see us getting a league win anytime soon until we finally play Aberdeen, who are the only team who appear to be in a worse shape than us.
Difficult to disagree with it. It almost feels like we could get a win, but it feels like, genuinely, it feels like we're a team at the level of Livy and Falkirk just now. That's not where we should be, but we could scrape a 2-1. But like you say, you kind of make Livingston favourites going into the game at the weekend. Cammy, for you, if you were Russell Martin, what I thought, like what would you be doing? Like, you've seen that performance against Genk. You're on the plastic pitch. It is one of the things that melts my brain. If it's true about Russell Martin, and we keep hearing it, that he doesn't do much work in the opposition, which to me is dereliction of your duty. And also, it negates a lot of your potential tactical advantage. If you don't look at the opposition and target them, like you're actually missing a trick. It just seems very basic. So I hope that's not true. But if you were Russell Martin and you're suddenly looking at the opposition, you're looking at performance, what would you be doing at the weekend to get the 3 points and ease the pressure even a little bit?
I'd probably bring Giga in. I'd play 3 at the back. To be perfectly honest with you, get the 3 big guys at the back. Take Magoma out of the equation. I think a few comments about Lyle Cameron. I think he has been a miss in the middle of the park. I do think he offers something a wee bit different. Unfortunately, I think it'll be after the international break before we see him. But Livingston is always difficult. You think back to the 55 season, I think we won 2-0, and then I think Morelos scored just before we won the league. It's always difficult. I think the pitch has been updated, so I think the pitch will be better than it has been, but it just means that our 2 or 3 centre halves are just going to play passy between each other on a better surface. I think we might nick a 1-0. But I'm not. That's my heart rule in my head. To be perfectly honest with you, I'm not going into these two away games against Livingston and Falkirk with great expectation that we pick up 6 points. As I said earlier, we could pick up 6 points. Russell Martin still has to be relieved of his duties after the Falkirk game. It's. But the options, I think Mikey Moore I'd certainly take Mikey Moore out the equation. I'd probably bring Ant-Man or Finlay Curtis in, and Majowski certainly to start. But you've got what you've got. It's no. I think I would maybe bring Joe Rothwell in for Diamandi to be perfectly honest with you. Diamandi's going to be suspended for Europe, and I think Rothwell didn't do much when he came on last night, but I do recall him having one run on the left-hand side. That's the Joe Rothwell that I had seen prior to coming to Rangers, not the Joe Rothwell that we've tried to turn into Sergio Busquets playing as the number 6. He does have energy that he can get about the pitch and can get stuck in, and I don't think he's a player that is scared. He's not had a great start to his Rangers career, but I think he does have leadership qualities within him. And I think there's more to come from Joe Rothwell. So I'd probably go with, I think I'd give Asgard another opportunity, but he has to get his finger out. Talent is not enough. He has to realise that he has to do his work off the ball. I thought he was very lazy last night. So I would bring Rothwell, play Rothwell, Raskin, Asgard. I don't know how many players I'm playing, to be honest, but I think we maybe play 13 players and I think we win the game quite comfortably.
I don't know. If you get 13 players and they're all kind of confused, running about like headless chickens, bumping into each other, I'm not sure. What about yourself, Jack? In terms of the weekends, any obvious changes you'd make in terms of shape or personnel, or is it like Cammy says, we've got what we've got, and you're kind of tweaking at the margins a wee bit?
Yeah, I'd if it was me, I'd switch to the 3-5-2. I think the amount of players we've got that can play in the middle defence would benefit us. I think Magoma, while he's done all right, he's a young boy. There's a risk of running him into the ground, and he's our only option out there until Sterling comes back. So, yeah, I would change to the 3, but I don't see him changing the tactics. If we're sticking with the same sort of style, I say you go with. I'd probably bring Giga in alongside Cornelius, see how the two of them play together. I like Suter, but he's just been at the back for so many bad performances. I think he probably needs out the firing line. Magoma's also got to start at left. I think Tavernier stays at right. Raskin obviously is your man at the back in the midfield. I'm not sure about the fitness of Cameron. If he's fit, I bring him in. If not, I'd like to see maybe Barron playing alongside Rothwell, something like that. I'm not sure. Other than Raskin, it's a much for muchness in that midfield at the moment. There's no one I'm really excited to see start. I think you take Diamandi out. I think you let the team down. Cameron comes in if he's fit. If not, he's pretty much pick and choose. I take Asgard out of the team. I think he's been really poor recently. Like I said earlier, I think he's a good player, but he's not showing it for us. Moore comes out. I'd give young Finlay a run. But I've got a feeling it'll be Ant-Man that comes in, and then Gassam out on the other side and Miovski up front with Trimiti's issues. But the thing is with Trimiti, if he's not able to play, your other option's Danilo, and is he really suited to playing on a plastic park? I don't know about that. So yeah, it's one of the ones I'm not getting excited to watch us play anymore. I'm not getting excited to talk about who's going to play, who's going to come in. And what I'm looking forward, there's nothing to look forward to. It's just complete and utter apathy. We're past sadness, we're past anger. I'm just bored with it. I just want a team I can get excited about and get behind again and be excited to talk about. And that's not going to happen until we change the manager. And I'm not going to get excited about these players because in the system of the managers having them playing, there's nothing to get you going. There's just nothing happening. And it's sad to say as it is. It's kind of killing my love for Rangers at the moment. I still love the club, but it's just I don't get excited about our games anymore. Whereas days before, I'd be like, right, here we go, looking forward to the weekend. And it doesn't really matter who comes into play just now. With this guy in charge, it's just no there.
And it is. I don't ever remember a time with this sort of apathy. I mean, that's the thing. It's like I never remember feeling about this. When we were down the 4th tier, okay, you had the initial rush of like, right, we're back and we're gonna, and then you get to the 3rd tier, and then we bump about the championship for a couple of seasons. Even then, you kind of felt a bit more than this. This does really just feel like it feels like everyone's waiting for Russell Martin to be replaced, and until he is, it's like we kind of know that things have to get worse. So we're kind of going, right, okay, it's almost like you're waiting for another kick in the teeth, and eventually at some point it's going to stop. And that's difficult people are not going to pay a lot of money to turn up and get kicked in the teeth, unfortunately. And it's interesting. I'm aware of time. We'll probably have to wind it up, the therapy session for today. But interesting couple of bits and pieces. One was interesting to see Igaman scored. I'm sure that'll rub salt in the wounds for some fans. He was scored for Leo in Europe a couple of nights ago. And Chermiti, there's talk that he might be in a tug of war with Tunisia, which would mean that our £8 million striker who's scored 3 goals in the last 2 years or whatever would be potentially off to AFCON and eligible for under-23 African Championships. So there's been a few people like scratching their head in the comments about the Chermiti signing. To me, it was a wild amount of money to pay for a player of that profile. Thelwell and Purdy have clearly thought, we're going to unearth a gem here, and I hope it comes off. But at the moment, the jury's definitely out on that. Before we wind up, any final thoughts for you, Cammy? Oh, I think you're on mute this time. Sorry.
No, to be honest with you, it's I've never felt so disconnected and disillusioned with my team. Basically, I just think I spoke about the manager having no respect for the supporters. He doesn't value the supporters. He gives us the odd platitude, but it's through very much gritted teeth. The ownership have to make a decision very, very quickly, because this cannot continue to fester. The positive side of me hopes that we manage to get 6 points in the 2 league games and then bins them, and you're still in with a outside chance of getting back into a title race. You know, because we should not be feeling like this on the 26th of September. You know, it's not acceptable, and but it's. The manager is only part of the problem. There's so many overall structural issues that it's not suddenly going to. But a manager with a bit more pragmatism and I know how to set a team up and know what's required to win in Scotland. And I think one thing that has to be part of Rangers moving forward is people that actually understand Rangers on and off the park. Because it's a club that's losing its identity for me.
Which was one of the worries when the 49ers came in. And it's such a disappointment because Celtic at the moment are a bin fire, but we're a house fire. And that's the disappointment. We should be putting them under more pressure. Any final thoughts from you, Jack?
I don't think we're a house fire. I think we're a forest fire. No, it's just under Steven Gerrard, Thursday nights were magic was kind of made and where dreams came true. But Martin's turned that into a nightmare after one game. It's just apathy, and apathy's worse than anger, because if people don't care, they're going to stop putting their heart and soul into the club. They're going to stop putting their money in the club. They're going to stop attending. And surely that'll finally make these new owners see that this has to change. And I don't hate Russell Martin. I understand what he's trying to do, but it's not working. And if he's not going to change, we need to change and remove him now.
Difficult to argue with that, and a great tagline there. That'd be something on The Bachelor if you had that. Thursday nights where magic was made and dreams continued with Gerrard. Before I wind it up, actually, on a slightly more sombre note, there was obviously the tribute yesterday before and during the game to Gordo of the Union Bears, who sadly passed away. And we would like to pass on from the Rangers Journal our thoughts and condolences to his friends and family. That's just it's such a horrible thing, and it was a very touching tribute. So our thoughts go out to them. No other way to transition to that and to say it's a tough time for us all. But if you can't smash the like button and subscribe button because you don't have the energy the way Rangers are playing, if you could poke it or prod it or do something, because we are on a kind of march to world domination, and you can be part of it. But with that said, every night and indeed every afternoon is a Rangers Journal night. Good night.